And if you notice, Jesus, when he came to the earth, he was given among man the lowest name that could be given. He was Beelzebub. That was the worst name they could ever call him. That's a devil, a fortune teller, evil spirit. They called his work an evil spirit. The unprepared church to meet him. They give him a horrible name, Beelzebub. And he came the most humblest birth that could ever be born, of a peasant mother, not even a place to lay down to give birth to this baby. And his swaddling cloth, we're told, was off of the yoke of an ox that they wrapped him in the manger in a stinking stable over the wastage in the stable. And the stable is not even a correct stable, a little cave in the side of the hill. And he dealt with the lowest, most poorest of people. And he was rejected by the highest of societies. He was rejected by his own, the church, that ought to have known him. But they didn't. They wasn't trained in the Word to know him. And we find again that he went to the lowest city that was in Palestine. Jericho, I forget how many feet below sea level it is. Way low. He stooped himself so low until the smallest men of the city had to climb up in a tree to look down on him. But that's what the world thought of him. They give him the most crucial, hardest death that any man could die. He died as a malefactor. The most disgraceful that he could die. Stripped his clothes off of him. Of course, you see on the statues and so forth, they got a cloth around him. But he despised the shame. They stripped his clothes completely from him. Nailed him to a cross in shame. The lowest, hardest death that could be given, they give it to him. That's what the world thought of him, but God thought of him. Till he give him a name above every name that's named in heavens or in earth. Exalt him so high till he's thrown so high he has to look down to see heaven. That's what God thought of him. I'm sure that's our thoughts this morning too. It's above every name that could be named. Even the whole family in heaven and earth is named Jesus. And by this name every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess to it. Zacchaeus was just a businessman in the city of Jericho. And he was no doubt a fine man in his way. He was, let's say, I believe, being a fine man as he was, he must have belonged to some church, one of the denominations of that day. Let's say he was a Pharisee. And he really, he didn't go with the views of his wife. Let's say his wife's name was Rebecca. And he didn't go with her views because she had believed on Jesus. She believed him to be just what he was, the Messiah, because she had seen him do the sign of the Messiah. Her being a Hebrew, Hebrews watch after signs and prophets, because that was to be their messenger. That's the reason that they should have never failed to have known him, because he was coming, the Son of Man. Read the rest of this dealings here with Zacchaeus. For the Son of Man come to seek and save that which was lost. He's the son of Abraham. When they accused him of going with sinners. So we see they should have understood that, but they didn't. They had their theology of living good and being fine people and so forth, but they didn't understand what really their Messiah was to be. You know that could be again. That could so easily happen. That we would misunderstand it in some way. Now, there's only one way to be sure. That's find out what he was. And then the Scripture says he's the same. Find out how he will manifest himself at the end time. It's written. See, he never does anything unless he reveals it first. He said so in the Scripture. He does nothing except he reveals to his servants, the prophets. And he has revealed it, and this is his prophet. This is a book of prophecy. It's a complete revelation of Jesus Christ all the way through. Nothing to be added to or taken from it. And we ought to search it and see what day we're living in, because we might be caught in the same trap. So we find that during this time, and this Zacchaeus, our little character this morning, this businessman of Jericho, he might have belonged to the Kiwanis, if there was such a thing, or something to symbolize it. He might have been a member of some of the great orders there was in Jericho. No doubt an outstanding man for his time. And he belonged to the church. But the bad thing we find is he had taken sides with the modern opinion, the popular opinion of Jesus. And Jesus is the Word. And the Word manifested as Jesus. See? And so he had taken the side of the popular opinion that he was not a prophet. That he was only I don't want to say this word as we call it today, four-flusher, just something that was putting on. But you see, Satan can impersonate that so perfectly until it's hard to know which is right and wrong. Jesus said it would be that way in the last days. So much impersonation. As Jambres and Jambres withstood Moses, remember, them two men could do anything that Moses and Aaron could do. But the only thing that Moses knew and vindicated, well, he never came, Jambres and Jambres, to deliver the slaves. Moses came in the name of the Lord to deliver the slaves. See? Because it was thus written. It told Abraham, your seed will sojourn for 400 years, but I'll bring them out. So Moses had, thus saith the Lord, but they could impersonate any kind of a gift that they could produce. Them knowing it, they never paid any attention to their impersonators. They stayed right straight with the Word. God finally declared. And you know, he said, and it would be in the last days, as Jambres and Jambres withstood Moses, so will these men of reprobate mind concerning truth.